So this is very important. Tomorrow is the Songha ceremony, but it's also the day of Purim. Okay. And if you got your Bible, let's go to Esther. Let's go to Esther in verse 17 of chapter 2. Let's start there. And then I'll give you a synopsis. But basically, let's start there, verse 17 of chapter 2. And the king, that's Ahasuerus. Hard to say. Ahasuerus. Of Persia, okay? And the king loved Esther, who was a Jewish woman. Okay? Above all the women. And she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Vashti is it sounds like an Indian name, doesn't it? But King Ahasuerus fell in love with Esther, who was a Jewish woman. Now, what happened in that whole situation? Okay, and you'll see in chapter 3 and chapter 4, chapter 8, it comes out and it starts unfolding. Let's jump to chapter 3. This is after a man, Haman, is promoted to like the vizier position. Remember that, Aladdin in Walt Disney? Yeah. Aladdin movie with Jafar the vizier, remember that? And he's brainwashing the king who's a bozo and a behemoth and he's a dumb bum. The right? Same kind of thing is happening here. But the Persian king is obviously a very scary person. So Haman is the son of Hamed Atta, the Agagite, and he advances. He becomes the vizier of the Persian Empire under King Ahasuerus. Okay? Now, Esther's uncle, she's cousin, so I guess that's, what's it, a cousin uncle? He adopted his cousin and raised her like his own child. 2 and 21, go back to 2 and 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat at the king's gate, in the king's gate, the door of his bedchamber, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. I mean, they sought to kill him in his sleep. Okay. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter was found out, therefore they both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of Chronicles before the king. So now let's jump to chapter 3, and let's go to verse 4. Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So Haman, remember, is the vizier, and Mordecai is not bowing to him or to the Persian gods because he's a Jew. So he doesn't want to betray God. Okay? And then Haman, the vizier, is angry. He's wroth. He's angry. He wants to kill Mordecai. And, of course, Esther as well. And then he tries to convince Ahasuerus to genocide the Jews. That they are a problematic race. That they are dangerous peoples that are rebellious against him. Now, the people of the remnant, right? Those in the Jews in captivity in Persia, they are in tremendous danger now. All because of what happened in the palace and with Mordecai. They're now in tremendous danger. They're all lives. They don't know what's going on. They may just be making food for the kids. And all of a sudden now, a big sword is hanging over their neck. Are you with me, folks? Woo! That's pretty serious. So then he's like, kill all the Jews then. Okay, so that's the situation they're in. Now, okay. 5, 6, go into some of that. But look at now chapter 7. And there is a banquet. So the king, chapter 7, there's a banquet. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. Remember, she's the crown queen now because he liked her the best. Of all the virgins, he made her the queen. Came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said unto Esther, on the second day of the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther, the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman, the vizier. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine, in his wrath went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. No. In this point, now you saw the movies. In that point, the vizier, all of a sudden, he's behind the scenes, he's plotting. Yeah, he's plotting, right? And then now he got caught. So he's, oh my God, right? Now he's begging, mercy on me, majesty, right? He's doing this thing, right? Right? Behind the scenes, he was Jafar. Yeah, right? This guy. And now all of a sudden he's, oh, I'm so sorry. Right? You understand? You understand? Satans do this when they get caught, right? So what happens? He's there looking at what he does. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. He tried to pull on her heartstrings. He said, oh, please, queen, have mercy on me. Please. Mercy, I did so wrong. I did wrong. I'm so sorry for what I've done. You see what I'm saying? He's trying to tug on those women heartstrings. But in the moment of weakness, if the queen failed there, not only would she die, all her people would die too. All her people would die. In that one moment of weakness. Now, can you imagine if True Mother in Korea, being told the truth by a couple sisters there that were connected with, they're kind of like her spiritual children. They talked to her, and she was racked with, struggle. All of you experienced the same as well. Because a decision had to be made. There could not be commingling between the adulterer and the husband. There could be no commingling between good and evil. They cannot sleep in the same bed. Are you with me, folks? Yes. And I imagine in Korea, she has that, the pressure and the tribulation, but then all of a sudden, the devil, just like Haman, come into her and say, no, Mrs. Kang, don't do that. You lose everything. In fact, she had manifestation of the devil that came, all the family friends trying to come, don't do this. They were trying to stop her. Just like Haman. Don't do this. Leave the second king out to die dry. He's going to die out there in the wilderness anyways. They're going to be nothing anyways. Why are you going to give your life to that? What do you have? The nothing. You have nothing. You have here. You have the palace. You have the silver town here. You have all your amenities. You have 3 square meals a day. Right? You have your pension. You have a couple, $1,000 coming up for you every month. You're going to lose all that. I mean, she had to fight that same fight. And she was 90 years old. Esther was still a young girl. She's probably 17, 18 years old. That's pretty good for 17, 18 years old. That's pretty brave. She wasn't a brain dead leftist, I'll tell you that much. Actually, that is pretty good, given that she's that young. But anyways, I'm a true mother at 90. She had to fight that fight. Whew. That's intense, folks. And true mother is the first disciple in South Korea. She's like the Father called the mother of the church. She is literally the most qualified woman to be true mother. She put herself on the front line endlessly. Yet she was always in the background to the younger, more beautiful Han mother. But that beauty corrupted her. The Han true mother didn't have tremendous physical beauty. She didn't have physical stature. She wasn't a 6-foot Korean, Miss Korea. I know Car Queen is Miss Korea, but our Car Queen. But she, Kong True Mother's like, she literally dwarfs the True Mother. The True Mother's a tiny lady. She's a tiny lady. Not bestowed with tremendous physical beauty and, but her spirit is titanic. Her faith is gigantic. The type of love she exhibited to try to get people saved. She ran out on the street, 6 years of 노방전도. That means street witnessing every day at the Pagoda Garden. Every day for 6+ years. Every day. Going out, starting this church in Gwangju, every single basic Korean church is started by her. With no foundation there. These like strongholds of, evangelical churches. But she had to go through all that. All the decades of frontline work, all the decades of being unrecognized, all the decades of having nobody say thank you, all the decades of serving God with no recognition, acknowledgement, other than the occasional, stand up and give her a award for, her age or something. Always in the back, but never losing her youthful heart, her faith in God, her belief and centrality of her life on Christ. Never leaving that first day where she gave it to God, gave her life to God. Keeping that fresh within her heart. 70 years on the front line. You think about it, in the entire world church, there's not one woman that is more qualified than our true mother, than Kang Yoshi's true mother. Nobody more qualified. And in the final hour, at the final stretch, at the last mile, where the Han mother turned from the finish line for her own glory and for her riches, of course, which she's losing. Never ends well for people who betray God. But anyways, that last moment, when nobody who served Father at that senior level from the early days, nobody would stand up for Father's kingship. Nobody would stand up for Father's heirship. Out of all them, in that massive palace, gathering all in that stadium at Cheongpyeong, not one of them would stand forth. But a small, short lady who happened to meet Father when she was 24 years old, 25, 26? 26 years old. Not even in the first row in that stadium, not even the second row. I mean, way in the back. Forgotten, Basically, they had a time clock on it when she's going to die, and just we'll bury her in chunk pills. She's irrelevant in that corruption, in that evil. And of all them that said they love Father, they said they never betray Him, they said they serve Him, when the Shemitah hit the fan, and they had to choose. None of them could do it. None of them could do it. Except a small little lady who happened to be in Busan when she was 26 years old to go witness a crazy self-proclaimed Messiah in a cardboard hut. Can you believe that, folks? Hallelujah! Praise God. And she lost everything. But she gained the whole world. Because when the kingdom comes, and the sovereign citizens and the kings and shepherds of Chanigo, they will honor her. Amen. Forever. They will honor what she did. It's said that life is what do they say? What do they say? It's life is a narrative. A life is a story. And many people in the secular world are taught, make your story. This is your story. Make your story. Make your story count. But all these little stories, they fade in the dustbin of time. Just little specks of sand in a vast ocean. If you think about it, right? I mean, in the span of eternity. But there are few people that choose not to just write their own story, but try to walk with God in His story. Yes. You see, those people are very different. Because unlike the masses, they're not just pursuing their story. They want to see God's story through. Yes. And because they live for that higher story and that higher purpose and calling, their lives are totally different. They're seen and remembered in a totally different way. It's not just a life that came and went, a speck of sand that's forgotten. It becomes a heroic story. The struggle of the ages, the epic battle between good and evil. And that we were not only spectators of the story, but participants. Walking that story with God. Not for our own glory in our story, but so that God could be glorified in His story and He could have joy in His story. And that's what would fulfill us. Because it's that kind of army and that kind of peoples that would change the world. There's plenty of stories of men, many petty stories of girls and boys, well, you name it. There's only a few stories of those who at the hardest time could see through the fog of war, could see through the fog of battle. And many times, just by the grace of God, maybe they were in the right place at the right time, or just the something in their conscience knew. But somehow they got drawn in. And it's almost like surrendering to that story that God has played out. Not letting it be about you. Being more intent on seeing God fulfill his desire in his story. Let him finish his story. And if I can be a part of that, I will do whatever it takes. It's amazing. And God is, because we have chosen to put our life story in a second category and put God's story at the front. Look at what he's done with our lives. Yes, we may have lost friends who were fake, who just, did pleasantries to us, but they're not real. Yes, we may have got scorned from the world, being called lunatics, crazy. But but they'll do that anyways. But look what we've gained. We're surrounded by people who are not perfect. We're not, but have honor. They seek righteousness. They seek God's kingdom. They want to do right. They want to follow God. They don't want to just be bought by the world. But everybody, even though, there's different, groups within the sanctuary, as you all know. And sometimes this group is fighting with that group, or that group is fighting with that. Arguing like a family. But when we come together, a thing like this, and we see everybody coming to give thanks to True Mothers that are on the, they may be from this group, that group, they all in their own way stood up for Father.
Yes.
They in their own way. At the critical time, they stood up. And the reason why they're here is because they're still walking with the three kings, walking with us as we walk into a sea of, the unknown. As we have to, God is putting us on the front line of talking with this warrior class of Christianity. Let her be the true mother. Let her be who she is with Father. Because that's who he loves. He doesn't like the version that the goddess fakers want to make her into. He likes her as she is. Who she really is. Not a fake version. Are you with me, folks? Don't you want to? Don't you like the real version of your queen? Not a fake version. You want a real version. You don't want a fake version. Father likes a real version of the Queen of Queens. She's so real because she's in all that amazing life that she had, which is many times full of missionary work, frontliner. Her faith and her love, that was always the front. Wherever she was in Africa, wherever she was in Europe, wherever she was in Russia, we getting no praise, just a couple members gathering, and she's not worried about am I going to fill a stadium. You see what I'm saying? She's not out there for the glory. There was an amazing story. She went to Russia. She brought like 10 luggage bags, okay? She was a missionary, and she had like 10 luggage bags. And all the Russian brothers and sisters were like, oh my gosh, who's this corrupt Korean lady coming here with freaking 10 bags? She's supposed to be a missionary. She got the freaking Taj Mahal in her bags. What's wrong with this crazy woman? So they're all cursing her before, because she said, what the hell, why you got 10 bags here? I thought you're supposed to be a missionary. Aren't you supposed to come with impoverished and poor like Mother Teresa or something like that? Okay. And so she gets there, and she brings the 10 bags. She opens them up. You know what they were? They were clothes, different things that Father had given her, that now she was going to give to the Russian brothers and sisters. That's the kind of woman she was. It's not a fake, I want to be a goddess woman. She's so epic because she's so real. She's got so many, she's always talking about how she has so many struggles and, I always feel so inadequate. And it's like, she's so humble. She's so vulnerable. She lets herself be open. She doesn't have to try to pretend she's perfect. Never did she ask you all once to worship her. Never. So obviously we know during the special ceremonies that Father has, given the holy days, she will be with Father in the heavenly throne. She will be there. Father's representative will be here, depending on each generation will be on earth. Father will be with her in heaven on the ceremonies. But the other day, she's not going to be sitting there forever. She's not trapped on a chair. She's going to be flying around, doing the will of God. Are you with me, folks? She's going to have an exciting life in the spirit world. Are you with me, folks? She's going to have angels chasing her in the spirit world. Oh, Lord have mercy. I wish you had video cameras. We could see what's going on over there. Okay. So we honor her. We can love her. We can thank her for what she's done. We can teach our daughters and our granddaughters about her. That's, of course. But also teach them not to worship her as God. Because that's not the woman she was. Never. Also teach them that. You miss that point, you may turn your children to devils. You miss that one little point. You may allow them to transform her into something in their own image. Her life was about doing the will of the Father. That's what she was about. So we honor her as a great Queen of Queens, the great Queen of Queens, a great warrior for God, a bride of Christ, the head of the bride of Christ, the woman of all women. But remember who she was. She's not made in man's image. She's made in God's image. She shaped her life to how God wanted her to be shaped. Are you with me, folks? That's why she's epic. That's why the generations will follow her and honor her. And every time they honor her, they will say, and praise be unto the Father for sending us such a mother. Because the Father and Mother, you can't just praise it from the Father is right there all the time. So today is our last day of the viewing area. So while you're here, please make time to give those final words. Okay? I understand she will be in the spirit world. She will be active. She is moving already. Okay? But again, she's not moving as God's Spirit or moving as God. She's moving with us. She's moving with the spirit, our ancestors. She's moving with spirit world. And she's moving with the direction that Father gives her, as she always did. We must remember that. I believe there's going to be a tremendous outpouring. And there'll be great miracles that happen. But we have to remember where the glory goes, folks. Remember who's the center of the cosmos. There's the sun. As long as we remember that, we will stay in God's graces, and our generations will be preserved and protected from the wiles of the devil. Protect your kingship. You've been given responsibility over it. Father has given you a tremendous gift of your kingdom. Not for your own glory, but for God's glory. Not for your own riches and your children's riches, but for God's glory. Because with that blessing comes responsibility as well. Protect your kingdom. Protect your household. Protect your heart from falsehood and idol worship. Keep your eyes centered on the prize. Keep it glorifying the Father, just as Jesus did. Just as Father did, just as we all do. Keep glorifying Him, because as you do that, True Mother will be behind you and she'll be lifting you up. She'll be supporting you. Saying, yes, glorify Father. Glorify Him. She will be celebrating you. She won't be celebrating if you say, I glorify you, True Mother. You're a goddess. Oh, she'll say, stop doing that, child. What are you doing, you crazy fool? The devil is coming right behind you. He's about to strike your head off. That's what she'd be saying. She won't be praising you. If you see her praising you in a dream, that's because you're worshiping her. That's Satan. That's not her. She's never like that. She won't be like that at all. That's an illusion of her. It's not her. The real her, you'll know when you're in her presence. You will know that is the real her because she's glorifying the Father. That's why you'll know very clearly who she is. You know, if she's appearing in like red and purple robes, saying that I am goddess and I say Father, you would know that's not her. Okay? You know that's not her. She never did that. She would never do that. And she proved it with her whole life. Till her dying day, she never broke that promise. That covenant with God. Never once. And that's why the kingdom of God is so blessed. That's why it can only prosper. Because such a queen of queens as her. Whew. Dang, we're blessed, folks. We are blessed. We are super blessed. All right, so today will be the final viewing day. Tomorrow will be a wonderful Songwa ceremony. So please be prepared that. Pray for us. Pray for all the things to go well. Okay, and we will see you all then tomorrow for the Songwa ceremony.